Selena Gomez has spent years in the public eye, known first as a Disney star and later as a chart-topping musician and producer. But while she often portrays a polished, composed image, one unexpected Instagram livestream shattered that perception. In a now-deleted video, Selena openly wept over reports of a government crackdown on immigrants, an emotional display that rattled fans and critics alike. Some hailed her candor, lauding the pop icon for using her platform to spotlight a serious issue. Others questioned whether it was all just another Hollywood stunt. Beneath the sensational headlines, however, lies a deeply personal connection to the stories of undocumented families. To understand why Selena risked the inevitable backlash, we need to look at her roots, her struggles with health and fame, and the surprising activism that's turned her world upside down. Long before she became a fixture on television and concert stages, Selena was a young girl growing up in Grand Prairie, Texas, a place shaped by cultural richness and, for many, the challenges of immigrant life. Her grandparents' journey from Mexico to the United States loomed large in her upbringing. They had crossed the border decades earlier, a daunting leap into an unknown future, driven by the hope of carving out better opportunities for themselves. Selena's father, born in Texas soon after, would eventually share these stories of determination and sacrifice with his daughter. Even as Selena moved into the limelight, landing roles on Barney and Friends and later Disney Channel, these family tales remained a source of pride and purpose. She wasn't just hearing about the obstacles undocumented immigrants face. She grew up in a home where discussions about visas, threats of deportation, and sacrifices made by relatives weren't abstract political talking points. Instead, they were lived experiences. Though it would take years for her to go public with this perspective, Selena's empathy for marginalized communities was already firmly in place, formed by firsthand knowledge of what it means to start from scratch in a new land. That compassion took center stage when Selena logged onto Instagram Live, tears streaming down her cheeks. The immediate cause of her distress was news about intensified immigration raids in various U.S. cities, with Chicago at the forefront. As she spoke between sobs, Selena apologized repeatedly to her people, referencing the communities whose suffering she felt personally. She lamented the plight of children who couldn't grasp why their parents were suddenly at risk of being deported, vowing to do everything in her power to help, even if she didn't quite know how. The emotional rawness of the video resonated with viewers, leading to a surge of supportive comments that praised her empathy. Others, however, saw a cynical move. A wealthy star shedding tears for attention, with critics arguing she was ill-equipped to tackle such a complex issue. Not long after, the entire livestream vanished from her feed. She posted a brief follow-up message about how empathy apparently wasn't acceptable, then deleted that too. This rapid disappearance sparked countless theories. Was she forced by a PR team to remove it? Did she regret showing vulnerability to such a massive audience? The ripple effects were immediate. Tabloids grabbed hold of the story, social media exploded with opinions, and Selena's tearful face became a lightning rod for controversy. Once the video hit the internet, the conversation took on a life of its own. Loyal fans defended Selena's tears as genuine, pointing out her family history and prior statements about immigrant rights. They praised her willingness to shine a spotlight on a situation often discussed only in fleeting headlines. Yet skepticism was equally rampant. Some labeled the breakdown performative, suspecting it served as a strategic grab for attention or a plot to garner sympathy at a time when her music career was in flux. Social media platforms turned into battlegrounds for heated debates. On Twitter, hashtags spread that either supported her activism or accused her of exploiting a crisis. Conspiracy theories floated around Reddit, with posts asserting her tears were part of a planned publicity stunt. Others dug into her personal history. Did her well-known struggles with anxiety and depression contribute to this outpouring of emotion, or was it purely about her Mexican heritage? No single narrative gained unanimous acceptance. Instead, the frenzy surrounding Selena's Instagram moment revealed how quickly celebrity actions can become politicized and polarizing, especially when the issue at hand is so deeply woven into the social fabric of the country. For those who doubted Selena's sincerity, a deeper look into her work on the Netflix docuseries Living Undocumented offered crucial context. Produced in 2009, the show followed families navigating the harsh realities of America's immigration system, many of whom faced the looming threat of deportation. As executive producer, Selena didn't just lend her name, She voiced personal ties to the series, explaining how her own relatives had lived with similar fears in decades past. Living Undocumented laid bare harrowing stories of people trying to remain hopeful under constant risk. Critics on one side accused the show of leaning too heavily on emotional appeals, while others praised it for humanizing a topic that's often boiled down to numbers and talking points. Regardless of where viewers landed on the political spectrum, it became clear Selena wasn't a newcomer to the conversation. By the time her tearful Instagram video surfaced, she had already anchored herself firmly in the fight to highlight immigrant voices. To her, shining a public light on these struggles was never just about grabbing headlines. It was an outgrowth of her own family's legacy and an attempt to wield her celebrity for a cause she believed in. Part of what made Selena's open display of emotion so striking was the knowledge that she's battled serious health challenges for years. Her lupus diagnosis, which led to a life-saving kidney transplant in 2017, transformed her public persona from a squeaky-clean Disney alum to a young woman fighting a grave medical condition. Images of her post-surgery recovery made the rounds online, eliciting both compassion and invasive speculation. Coupled with this physical ordeal, Selena has also spoken at length about her struggles with anxiety and depression, often amplified by a relentless media spotlight. This backdrop of chronic illness and mental health management could have contributed to the emotional intensity of her Instagram moment. Stress, compassion fatigue, and the weight of her own personal battles might have fueled the tears that critics deemed over the top. For every skeptic dismissing her breakdown as a publicity stunt, there were just as many supporters seeing a vulnerable individual bravely choosing to voice her heartbreak in real time. It also underscored a deeper tension in Selena's life. She's always been open enough to connect with fans on a personal level, yet that same openness frequently invites a barrage of commentary, skepticism, and harsh judgment. Despite the tumult, Selena Gomez continues forging a path that fuses her entertainment career with advocacy. She's hinted at projects that will further amplify stories that often go unheard, from mental health initiatives to new explorations of immigration policy. In interviews, she maintains that her documentary work isn't a one-off effort. She views it as an evolving mission. By sharing more personal parts of her life, Selena hopes to normalize conversations about topics that can be uncomfortable or polarizing, be it mental health treatment or family separation at the border. Nevertheless, the question lingers. Will she retreat from the spotlight to protect her own well-being, or push forward and risk further backlash? As political debates around immigration show no signs of cooling, Selena's willingness to speak out could place her in even hotter water in the future. Yet she seems prepared for that possibility, having already faced a torrent of public opinion when she broke down on Instagram. Over time, she's learned to manage social media boundaries more carefully, turning off comments or stepping away from platforms entirely when it becomes too much. Still, her continuing presence on screen, on stage, and behind the camera suggests she's not finished using her voice. Selena Gomez's tearful apology to the immigrant community might have shocked those who knew her only as a pop sensation. But for anyone following the threads of her background, the grandparents who crossed the Mexican border, the Netflix docuseries exploring undocumented lives, the ongoing fight with lupus and anxiety, it was the culmination of deeply personal ties and emotional weight. The backlash showed just how quick society can be to doubt a celebrity's sincerity, and the support she received underscored the power of authenticity in the digital age. Despite the controversies, Selena's impact endures. She's demonstrated that fame can be more than a self-serving spotlight. It can also be a megaphone for amplifying stories that rarely find center stage. Yet every emotional display risks fueling a media machine eager to pounce on celebrity vulnerability. Whether she's raising awareness for immigrant families, speaking candidly about mental health, or simply sharing new music, Selena stands at the intersection of cultural influence and compassionate activism. And as divisive as her tearful Instagram Live may have been, it opened a door for broader conversations, ones that just might bring us closer to understanding the very real lives behind the headlines and the tears that brought them to our attention.